Um, so bursting reports to the file system is going to take one large report that is going to be broken down by a certain grouping, such as product line, and it's going to distribute the report into multiple files, one for each of the product lines that we're bursting by. We're going to show you how to build the report and how to set up the bursting properties so the report can be bursted correctly. And then finally, we're going to show you an application that will go through and automatically rename the report based on the burst label that we've discussed in the setup properties. So the first thing that we want to look at today is actually going to be concerning IBM Cognos configuration. The first component that we need to set up is set the content manager setting in Cognos configuration, the property that says save the report outputs to the file system. We want to set that from false to true. And what that will do is allow Cognos to not only burst content to Cognos, the content store, but also to the file system as well. The second property that we want to alter is inside of IBM Cognos administration. If we go to the administration console and click on the system subtab, and from there we click on the properties of the system, we need to set an environment on the edit button. Allow us to go ahead and type in the parameter of CM output location. We want to set the value to the location where the content will be bursted to. So once the report is run and executed, this is the location on the file system that reports are going to be sent to. This could be any file system location that you've specified. Once those two properties have been set up, then we're going to be able to run the report and start to burst it. The next thing we're going to discuss is inside of Report Studio itself, how to set up a report and configure it for bursting. So what we've created here, if we run the report directly in Report Studio, is a real simple list report that is broken down by each of the product lines. So for each product line, such as camping equipment, we show a list of their corresponding product types, as well as the revenue and the quantity for the product lines. You can see there's multiple product lines included in this report, such as golf equipment, mountaineering equipment. When this report is bursted for the file system, we will then see a PDF report for each one of the product lines, as well as their associated product types, once the output has been bursted. Alright, so a couple things to note when setting up the report. The first thing that we're going to talk about is inside of the query. To do this correctly, we need to set up a calculation called burst recipient. And inside of this calculation, you can see that it's just a static expression called CAMID for anonymous. And what this will do is this will allow us to burst the report to the user called anonymous. However, that allows us to get the content to the file system without bursting the report for each specific user inside of our Cognos environment. The next thing that we need to do is set up the burst properties within the report. So let's take a look at the burst options. The first burst option is the burst group that the report is going to be grouped by. You can see that the burst label being bursted to is called product line, and this report is also grouped by product line. We want to note that whatever has been set up in the burst label is what we want to ultimately rename the report to, in this case, camping equipment, mountaineering equipment, etc. The second option is to set up the burst recipient. So we can see that that is pointed to the calculation we created called burst recipient, and because of the types that the automatic, it's going to know automatically the burst to the Cognos content store as well as to the file system. Once the report has been set up and configured for bursting, then we can go ahead and execute the report from Cognos Connection. So let's go over to Cognos Connection, and we're actually going to go ahead and burst this report. So here's our sample report we created. We want to run the report with options. And for the delivery method, we want to make sure that Save the Report has been selected, and then click on the Advanced options in the top right-hand corner. Once we get to the Advanced Options menu, if I scroll down, you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner an option called Burst the Report appears. This option only appears if the report delivery has been set to save the report. So let's go ahead and click on Run. We'll view the details of the report after it's executing. So now this report, you can see the status of it is currently executing, and it's currently bursting the report to the file system. If I click on a refresh link at the top right-hand corner, I can now see that the status has changed from executed to succeeded, and the report has now been officially bursted to the file system. Okay, so is we're going to go over to the file system that we've configured the bursting to be sent to. What you're going to notice that there's a set of 5 different PDFs that were created, as well as corresponding XML files that are really descriptor files for each of those PDFs. If I simply double-click on the first PDF, the report appears. You're going to see that this is the product item report for camping equipment specifically. And you notice that there's 5 different reports that have been bursted, one for each of the corresponding product lines. One thing that you'll also notice, and is a bit challenging, is that the name that is generated is somewhat cryptic. It doesn't really let you know that the report we just opened it up was for the camping equipment product line. So the last step of this process is to go ahead and run a script that automatically rename those reports for us based on the burst label. So we're going to show you the contents of what that script looks like, as well as the executable to kick off the script. But before we dive into that, the first thing we want to do is take a quick note on this XML file. So the XML file that we're looking at, that is for the PDF above it that we saw for camping equipment, it'll show us one thing here that's going to be very important. Burst key was based on what we set up for the burst label set up the report. You can note here that it says camping equipment. Ultimately, the renaming script that is going to be run will take whatever's been set up in the burst key and rename the PDF to this burst key label. So what we want to do now is take a look at a couple scripts that are responsible for renaming the content. The first script is going to be actually the executable that kicks off the renaming itself. So if we open up this output script called Java, and we go into WordPad and just take a look at the output, this is the standard script developed by IBM that allows us to go through, input a couple variables into the script, compile the script, and then it's going to be able to run and rename accordingly. So the 2 variables that we want to be aware of, first is going to be the output location variable. What we want to do is set this to the location of where we're going to be doing the renaming for. The second part of the script that we want to be aware of, if we scroll down towards the bottom here, what we can do is in 2 sections here where we set the new description file and the new def file variables, what they're equal to can be utilized with the other variables that were set up at the top. So if you wanted to include not only the burst key, but then maybe the time that the report was executed, you could simply alter what this variable gets set to also include the timestamp or other things that might be important in the naming convention. So it's important to know that this is where the naming convention gets set, is within this part of the script. Once you have the Java script set up, you want to then compile the JavaScript and create the class that is going to be referenced instead of the executable script. So the class that was created from this output script.java is called output script.class. The last thing to be aware of is we now have a script that's going to call that class. So there's a script out there called rename output.bat. And this is just a simple Windows bat script that's going to go ahead and go to the location of where Java's been installed. It's going to start by taking the files that ended up in the landing zone, moving them into our stage area. So the stage area you'll see is a parallel folder, which we'll get into in a moment. And then it's going to actually execute that Java application. So it's going to run the output script and go ahead and rename the files. The next portion is going to take the PDFs inside of that directory, move them into another directory called final, and then eventually clear out the stage directory itself, and then it's going to go to sleep for 30 seconds. So this script is constantly going to be running in the background, and as content gets moved into the landing zone, it's going to move it over to stage, do the renaming, and eventually move it over to final. So if I close down the rename output.bat, and we go into our scripts location, and see there's our rename output.bat script. If I simply double click on the script to kick it off, you can see it's executing the renaming application. And now if I go back into my landing zone, you're going to notice that the files that were in the landing zone are no longer there. If I go up one level in my directory, what happened was those files from the landing zone then moved over to stage, where the renaming process actually occurred, and then finally ended up in this final directory. So if we open up the final directory, We can now see that those PDFs that had the somewhat cryptic name before are now appeared with their corresponding burst key. So now if I simply open up golf equipment as an example, you can see the report that this was bursted to. It's called golf equipment. Alright, so that was an example of how you burst contents from Cognos connection to the file system. For more information about this technique, simply click on the link below, and I'll give you some more hints on some tips and tricks as well as tutorials that we have that we've created. So again, this is Nick Smith from JCP Partners. Hopefully you enjoyed this and it was helpful for you, and we appreciate your time.